So I will start my talk on vitamin D. I'm going to share my screen. Able to see the slides?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Now, people may ask why we should talk about vitamin D. There are several reasons. Can you see me? No, you can't see me, yeah?
I can see you.
We see you in a gallery view, a smaller view, but
Okay.
on the screen is your slide. I don't know if it's only me, it's not focused. Maybe it's only me or somebody else also.
No, it is out of focus.
Yeah.
Out of focus.
It's not focused, yeah.
Okay, let me just, I'll stop sharing and see whether
Yeah, redo it
we
again. Yeah.
can.
It looks like your internet also is.
It
Go
may
back
also be a bandwidth problem.
again
Your voice
do it.
is breaking up. So
Yeah.
that's an indication that the internet is weak. But
Possible,
anyway,
I'm
we
going
can
to
try.
boot up my internet.
Your internet is weak.
Yes, my internet is weak, so I'm going to try to boot it up again. Okay, my internet is booted up again. Okay, I'm going to try again sharing my screen.
Okay.
How is it now?
Much the same.
More or less the same. Try the next slide. Maybe it's the problem is with the slide.
Okay. How about this one?
Yeah, still fuzzy.
Focus problem.
Focus problem. Oh dear. Okay.
But you can talk. Let's see.
I can talk. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about vitamin D. Vitamin D is one of the important vitamins that you should know about. Let me just see whether I can do something.
Chandra, the slides are still useful.
It is useful. I'm going to see, 1 second. I'm going to get out of the Zoom and come back again.
Okay.
Sorry about
Slides are
that.
still useful.
Yes. So let's see. I'm going to get out of the Zoom totally and come back.
Okay, we are waiting.
He's trying to fix it.
Okay, let's see whether I can share my slides now. See, internet problem is universal.
Because these days there are so many people, they are dependent on internet only. So that is the reason. In normal days, the internet was not being used that much as it is being used now. Every office goer, every student, social like us, everybody is using internet these days.
How about now?
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
Better.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a technical person, but I'm glad
We
I'm
are
able
all,
to navigate through this.
yeah.
Okay, so vitamin D is an important vitamin, and you know the old Indian saying, when I went to med school, they say, oh, you just need your nose to be exposed to make enough vitamin D to carry you through your life. Not so. Vitamin D, when I say fat soluble, there are 3 vitamins that are fat soluble, important vitamins, A, E, and K. All 3 are very important. A is for your eyes, E is for your skin, and K is for your clotting, and D. So today my talk is only going to be on vitamin D. And why I chose that is any topic I choose, I choose it with the mind of seniors in it. Why seniors have to know certain aspects of vitamin D so that you can prevent from low vitamin D and the problems that caused by low vitamin D. So vitamin D for all vegetarians and the non-vegetarian people is easily available. We will talk about the skin later on, but it's available in spinach, kale, okra, collards, soybeans, white beans, fish, basically sardines and salmon, perch and rainbow trout, and calcium fortified foods. If you look at your milk, it will say vitamin D added. Your breakfast cereals have vitamin D. Orange juice has vitamin D. All this is added with the research done because people living in this climate need extra vitamin D. We'll go through the process later on. Now, if you go to our skin, you can see we produce vitamin D. And what happens is there is called ultraviolet A and B. We need the B band to hit our skin properly. And the wavelength is 290 to 315 nanometers. So when it hits the skin, it penetrates the epidermis, and then there are cells there that convert into 7-dehydroxycholesterol, and it becomes cholecalciferol or vitamin D3. So our skin produces vitamin D3, and then the produced vitamin D3, which is carried by blood, we have protein called vitamin D binding protein. That protein mixes with this cholecalciferol and carries it to the liver. So liver needs to be in perfect working condition for your vitamin D to just change. So it adds a hydroxy group, OH is we call hydroxy group, and it becomes 25 hydroxy D. That is not still active vitamin. That 25 hydroxy D again is carried from there to the kidneys. And in the kidneys, it gets another hydroxyl group, so 125 hydroxy. This is an active vitamin D3. It causes retention of calcium. And again, if you look at the back here, this is thyroid. It's up in your neck. And behind the thyroid, there is 4 little glands. It's called parathyroid. It's attached to the thyroid, but is independent of thyroid. And that's parathyroid. The parathyroid is secretes hormone called parathyroid hormone, and that regulates your calcium and that regulates your phosphorus. When the calcium is low, the parathyroid hormone is secreted and it causes calcium retention. And how the calcium, you need your calcium for your bone to be active. So that's generally what happens from vitamin D through your skin. Now, the vitamin D you ingest, that's why I said it's fat soluble, because it becomes chylomicrons, because it absorbs into your intestine, and the fat and the bile acid takes it to the liver. You need fat and bile acids for this hormone to be absorbed, vitamin D to be absorbed. And then the whole thing happens again. So there are 2 ways that our body is adapted to secrete vitamin D3 or 125 hydroxy vitamin. So next step, why should we know this? Because when the sunlight penetrates our skin, the human body was created to protect itself from the ultraviolet A. When it's protecting itself ultraviolet, A, it also protects from ultraviolet B. Close to the equator, the skin is very dark because it's protecting you against the ultraviolet A and B. As you migrate towards the north, your skin color changes, and that is because you want more vitamin D to be absorbed into your system through the sun's light. And so there are 6 types of skin. The one type 1 burns very quickly, and the type 6 burns very slowly. You tan, and the middle people tan, but the burning is less effective. Now, remember I told you about the ultraviolet A and B. So the B goes through the epidermis and A goes through the dermis. So when we talk about melanin, I'll talk a little bit about the melanin here. So melanin pigment is what gives you the skin color. So higher the melanin pigment you have, the darker the skin is. So what melanin pigment does is lowers your skin ability to make vitamin D, because you don't want too much vitamin D there. So it lowers your ability to produce vitamin D, and from the sunlight, actually, not the other way around. And the epidermis is armed with, the top of your skin is called epidermis, is armed with melanin. And it also has other activities: noxious insult and cellular epidermal homeostasis, which means it maintains, people get, you must have heard of cancer, skin cancer, because they have low melanin. The sun rays penetrate through their skin and into the epidermis, and changes takes place and you get skin cancer. So this is an important protective device that's inbuilt into your body. So again, as I show you, this is a thing for PABA, but so as you see, ultraviolet B rays I talked about goes only through your epidermis, but ultraviolet A rays go to the dermis, and this is the problem that causes melanoma. So when we go outside, you're supposed to protect your skin, even us, to prevent damage. And especially for seniors, it is very, very important, because your skin slowly, aging process loses the elasticity and the protective mechanism. So let's see why vitamin D is so important for men. Well, this is for women too. It increases the testosterone level. It gives you a better mood, and improves your psychological benefit. And it also helps you to lose weight. Cancer prevention, we already talked about. Lowers the risk of cardiovascular disease, and normalizes your blood pressure, reduces the severity and frequency of asthma attacks. And the person with the type 2 diabetes, it reduces the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, reduces the risk, doesn't take it away, and reduces the autoimmune activity. We talked about that because it's to do with the modulation of your immune system, and builds up your strong bones and better calcium absorption. All this we talked about. So those are the important things that vitamin D does. So here, what are the risk factors that makes vitamin D absorption through your skin less? Age over 50, female gender, dark pigmentation, we talked about that. The poor integrity of your skin, we talked about that. Reduced time spent outdoors. As we become seniors, we tend to stay more indoor or in a comfortable environment, and that causes reduced vitamin D production. Poor intake. We'll talk about this a little bit. Obesity, again, a major problem. BMI over 30. Malabsorption. People with IBD or irritable bowel syndrome or Crohn's or ulcerative colitis have absorption problem, especially to fat. You need fat for vitamin D to be absorbed in your body. And renal function is very important. So you need your kidneys to be working normally. Last talk, we talked about the renin in the kidney, hypertension. So the kidney is one of the important organs that you need to be functioning properly. And medication, some anticonvulsants could change your vitamin D absorption. So what are the vitamin D changes? Poor aching bones, weak bones, poor muscle strength, frequent cough and cold, infection, pale skin and dark circles, fatigue, sleep changes, mood changes, back pain. Oh, I walk, I can't walk, I have problems walking, and loss of appetite. So all these are, you could say, oh, old age brings these to us. But there may be a reason that you can avoid or make your thing better, because old people sleep less, they do get mood swings, they do get fatigue, appetite depends. So you could find a reason to protect yourself. Again, 10 hidden reasons for vitamin D if you're sweating a lot. This happens in summertime. If you're outside a lot, you do sweat. Mood swings, tiredness and fatigue, muscle weakness, high blood pressure can also cause problems. Digestive problems we talked about. Dry skin, psoriasis, any skin condition like eczema. Overweight and obesity, I'll talk a little bit about that. Last time we touched it. And bone. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about BMI. Last time people asked about BMI, and any BMI under 25 to 29 is not obese. But BMI, they are called overweight. But class 1, when they go to 30 to 34, class 2 or moderate risk is 35 to 39. Class 3 is over 40. And BMI of 18.5 falls into the range of underweight. So 18 to 25, you could call yourself, your BMI is normal. Now, why BMI is important? We talked about that because if you're overweight, you're exposing self to problems, and that causes problems with not exercising properly, and that goes like a vicious cycle. So it's important to control your BMI. Now, let's look at the common comorbidities in older population by physical aging. Cardiovascular disease, you had a talk about that, increases the cardiovascular vitamin D deficiency, morbidity and mortality. In women, more women, as we talked about, are prone for stroke. Age increases the incidence of stroke. And this is because there is smooth muscle proliferation and inflammatory process happening in your blood vessels. Osteoporosis, more and more people are talking, you get your bone density done when you, I think when you turn 50, if I remember right, is one of your annual exams to have your bone density done. 10 million adults over the age of 50 suffer from one part of osteoporosis, may not be the malignant type. It affects all sexes, all races, and all ethnicity. But 80% of the individuals who have osteoporosis are women, And out of them, 20% are Caucasians. And this increases your chance of low impact trauma and fracture. That's why we say seniors should avoid falls, because if you fall, the normal fall that in their younger age you're able to withstand it would cause fractures. And especially seniors getting fracture of their hip bone, fracture of their thigh bone is very, very common, because these are very strong bones that are not prone for fracture. And we talked about the parathyroid hormone, which is important, and the bone turnover. So vitamin D affects that. So what is the requirement of vitamin D for us? When the babies are born, they standardize it. You need 400 units of vitamin D. You give them drops of vitamin D. Children over 1 year of age, 400 to 600 vitamin D, international units. When I say units, it's international units. Healthy adults, 19 to 50, would need 400 to 1,000 international units a day. And adults over 50 would need 800 to 2,000 international units. Pregnant and lactating mother needs increased vitamin D too. Health Canada is said the upper limit of vitamin D intake per day should not exceed 4,000 international units. If you take more than that, you would have problems. And we will talk a little bit later about that, why it is important not to overdo anything, but to keep it in thing. And also, Health Canada says you should take vitamin D all year round. Summer, winter, fall, spring. You need your vitamin D all year round, because we live in a climate where the sun rays is hitting your skin in a different mode than what you do in the equator or equatorial region. So you need your vitamin D, and that's why everything is fortified. But it may not be enough, because your absorption also goes down as you become senior. So why this time I chose to talk about vitamin D is because the COVID is teaching us many, many lessons in medicine. And one of the lessons that we learned is COVID, one study, maybe it's become more now. They studied about 500 individuals, and those individuals who had low vitamin D have more severe COVID symptoms. The other thing also it found out was people with low vitamin D seem to be having more incidence of acute respiratory failure when they are with COVID, and their rate of dying from a COVID infection is higher. There was a few months ago, one of the Asian, I should say, minister in the British wanted to give vitamin D to all the prisoners in Britain, extra resources. Why? Because they are not exposed to sunlight, because they have fixed period of time to get out and have the sunlight hitting them. Most often they are incarcerated in their room without much sunlight. And but the parliament didn't pass that rule, and they are still trying to get it through. We thought people with an increased body mass index, we know they produce less vitamin D. And we know people with hypertension produce less vitamin D. And we know the Hispanics and Black people produce less vitamin D. So the increased death rate we saw amongst Black, Hispanics, people with increased BMI is because, could be attributed, could be to vitamin D, but we are learning this and more. I think by end of when COVID leaves the rampage and exits our society, we may have a lot more lessons from medicine that COVID has taught us. Now, as I said, please don't overdo your vitamin D too. The symptoms of overdoing vitamin D is very similar: pain, muscle weakness, vomiting, confusion, hypercalcemia, because bone is, the calcium is absorbed out of the bone and you excrete calcium in your urine, and this could cause calcium stones in the ureter or kidneys. And hyperphosphatemia is another condition where it also causes stones in the kidney. There are certain diseases that are very, very prone to cause hypercalcemia, like the disease of parathyroid hormone. Another disease is called granulomatosis, sarcoidosis, lymphoma. This affects the bone and reabsorption of calcium in the system, and the kidney disease. So it's very important to keep a balance of vitamin D in our system, because it's an essential vitamin that you need in your system. As seniors, we need to kind of monitor that. It used to be 10 or 15 years ago, you could get your 125 hydroxy vitamin levels done. The Ontario OHIP is taken it out as an essential test. So if your doctors can order it only in certain conditions, like rickets and other things. But if you need to get it done, you may have to pay for it. I have to still check on that. I think it's a paid test. It's not a free test. It's like your PTH. It's a paid test. You do that because you have to pay for it. So that's my little talk on vitamin D. And so I'm going to thank you all. It's Puttandu Varthukal from the Tamilians and South Indians. Happy Vishu from the Malayalis. And happy, how do you pronounce it, Prabir? You may have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself, Prabir.
You're muted.
Chandraji, in Bengal, the new year is called Poila Boishak, the first day of the month of Vaishak.
Okay, and happy Vaishaki or Baisakhi,
yeah,
because next week all of us are celebrating happy things. So that I wish you all from my bottom of my heart, not hat. Thank you.
Chandra, can you?
I will stop sharing.
Yeah. Thank you. So, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, but before I ask my question, Chandraji, if you allow me, permit me, I would like to tell everybody, when you said body mass index, BMI,
yeah,
if it's more than, let's say 35 and above, you're overweight, obese. And just with your permission, how to calculate your BMI.
Sure.
Right? Most of the people, so simple formula to calculate your BMI is take your weight in pounds. Let's say your weight is 98 pounds, right? Or sorry, 198 pounds. Divide that by the square of your height. Now your height, let's say, is 70 centimeters. So square of your height is 70 into 70. So if your weight is 198, divide by 70 into 70, whatever the number comes to, and multiply it by 703. And that will give your BMI. and what is your BMI. So as Chandraji said that this is the limit that you are overweight, you're class 1, class 2. This is a simple way to calculate your BMI. So
actually, Anilji, if you go, just calculate your BMI. There are calculators available on the internet. You just plug in your weight, plug in your height. It will give you a BMI.
Yeah, you can do that also. Now, coming to my question, Chandraji, I'll take my personal case. I'm very sensitive. My skin is very sensitive to sun. If I'm in the open, let's say in a picnic in a garden, I'm somewhere, I try to find a tree and I sit under the tree so that I'm not directly exposed to the sun. So I'm in the shade, there is sun around. Will my skin again absorb vitamin D?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they are, you see, the rays are different. You don't see the ultraviolet rays.
Okay.
So even though you're not sitting in the sun, you're not getting the A wave, but your skin will absorb the B wave.
B waves. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let me see who's the participants. I don't see the.
No, there are hands. I will, in case, Prabirji, you can unmute and ask a question. You're the next in the queue.
Okay.
I can't see.
Can you hear me, Chandraji?
Yes. Yeah.
Normal. My question is with respect to vitamin D supplementation.
Yes.
Normally, in any drugstore, you can get one of these. This is a D3.
Yes.
My question is twofold. Why is it, by the way, always D3? And the second is, should supplements be taken only after consulting your doctor? In other words, after doing a vitamin deficiency blood test?
No. See, you have to pay for your test now. Ordinary people don't get it.
Okay.
You could get it for your interest's sake, because I challenged my physician and said, I'm a dark-skinned person. I cannot be vitamin deficient. And I was floored when my level came back. So, you know, people cannot assume because your skin is dark, you are getting enough vitamin D. As I said, the rays affecting your skin is different. And this is just to go show that when I was doing my residency, there was a spike in rickets in kids, people coming from Saudi Arabia and wearing the dark thing. The sun rays don't go through their dark garments. So the lactating mother and the babies didn't get enough vitamin D, and they came in with rickets, which we never ever saw. Even during my residency in India, I never saw. There are other type of rickets, but not vitamin D deficiency rickets. But that's what it is. It's the sun rays are important, but the amount of exposure that you get to the sun rays, from the sun rays.
So that would be particularly important during the winter months.
Very much so. Yeah, that's why they say you could increase your vitamin D through the winter months if you're not going out, but I would do it in consultation with your family physician.
By the way, those things are 400 IUs. They're the standard.
Yeah, you may need 2 of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I say, I think you should consult your family physician about the dosage.
Yes. Like, you know, if you take 2 and you find your muscle pains and aches are reducing, that gives you your answer.
So next, Madhu Desai, go ahead.
नमस्कार, मेरा क्वेश्चन है, मेरी हाइट 5.4 इंचेस है और वेट 93 पाउंड। 5.4 मेरी हाइट है, 5 feet 4 inches, yeah, and my BMI is very low, so
you need to eat more.
that I can do.
Some people are blessed with low BMIs. Others have to work at it.
Do I need more vitamin D to take or anything else? Like I take vitamin D 1000 for every week. I take 3 or 4 every second day or something like that.
I think you should consult your physician, but I think what your requirement you're taking is enough, because Health Canada says don't go over 4,000. There are few people who take high doses of vitamin D, but at the recommendation of the family physician, especially when they have osteoporosis or bone condition. But I would consult your doctor, but the normal adult requirement is 800 international units.
Okay, thank you.
Next to Renuka Castle.
Yeah, hi, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Chandra. Really appreciate your update on this. It's so helpful. I just want to show you, these are the drops.
Yes.
Okay, so I was told like to take 5 drops in the morning, early morning, before I leave the bed. Is that good enough?
I can see how many international units are there in the
1,000.
it's 1,000. And
That's right.
5 drops contains 1,000.
I have no idea.
You may have to just fine tune that and see. Each drop is 1,000. Then you just need a drop, but each 5 drops is 1,000. You're right. You have to take 5.
So I take it throughout the year then?
That's what the Health Canada is recommending, that
Yeah.
vitamin D as seniors should be taken throughout the year.
Okay, thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Next, Indusani. Unmute Kalyana Pelle, please.
Hi,
Hi,
Chandra. Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. It was very informative. I have 2 questions. First is, should you use a sunscreen when you go out in the sun?
In the summertime, when you go out in the hot sun, yes.
Okay, and then does that affect, or even in the winter, if you're going out in the afternoon, should you use a sunscreen?
Depends on your skin type. Some people, as Anilji said, burn very fast.
Right.
Like I don't use sunscreen in the winter time when I go out. But if I am on a cruise and I'm spending the whole day outside on the exposed area, I would use a sunscreen.
Sunscreen. And does that affect, does use of sunscreen affect your absorption?
Yes.
So it reduces it, right?
It reduces it.
But
But
it's still,
mainly the UVA light. See, I
Okay.
told you there are 2 UVB and UVA.
right.
It protects you against UVA.
Okay, so then is it still a good idea to use the sunscreen even though it affects your vitamin D absorption?
Yes, because then you have to eat properly.
Okay.
Eat properly, and that's why I said, you take your vitamin D all year round. Don't stop taking it. Take it all year round after you reach certain age.
Okay. And it's 800 to 1,000 IU per day, right? That's
Per day. Yes, it's per day.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
There are if I remember right, drops available, which is very high vitamin D, and I don't know still whether they do it. You can take it once a week, but I think Health Canada says not to do that or not. I'm not 100% sure. I have to check on that because each drop is 10,000 international units.
Okay.
Vitamin D drops. But I think that is kind of, I don't know whether it's in the market yet, out.
Okay. Mine says 1,000 IU.
1,000 IU is fine.
Fine. Okay. And once I'll take it
But
once.
then you see, when I say 1,000 IU, if you're drinking milk, if you're drinking fortified orange juice, and if you're eating more vitamin D products, it adds into your vitamin D. That's why I said, be careful not to overdo it.
Oh.
Keep it in control.
Okay.
It's hard to know then.
It is kind of hard. You played by the, you know, your body will tell you, you know, the amount you use.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Next, Suman Mahajan, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Chandraji. It was very
Hi,
good
Suman.
presentation. Yeah. Just have a quick question, and it may not apply to everyone. It's just personal to me. I do take 2000 IU every day, all year around. And I'm also on immunosuppressant drugs, a lot of medications, all three of them, the Prograf, prednisone, and the other one, Fortex, whatever. Anyways, so we are not supposed to go in the sun or protect ourselves from sun and all that, but I love the sun, sitting in the backyard, hate putting the sunscreen, but just sitting here and there, try to avoid it. But what can I do? As you said, if I'm going for a long time outside on the beach, or then I will put the sunscreen, but just sitting in the backyard and in the sun.
Yeah, if you have an umbrella to protect your face and your exposed part of the body, and it's cool anyway. So you're wearing kind of a full sleeve shirt and a pant to sit outside. If you find, technically, I'm not a person to go sit on the beach. Even if I go for my holidays, you will not find me on a beach on a hot day. And that's because I think inherently our genes is telling us not to go out in the hot sun. So there's an old proverb, madman and the Englishman. So they, you know, crossing the Sahara Desert. You can't do it, I can do it, but the Englishman will do it. So that's the thing, because your body is telling you don't do certain things. And I think we should listen to our body more, because it gives you warning and tells you don't do it.
Yeah, like I try to put the kurtis, and if it's a half sleeve, less sleeve, like no sleeve, cover myself with a cotton thin like clothes. But again, is that good enough?
I think so. I think so. You know, you won't be sitting there at 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon. No. You better go in the morning time when the rays are not very hard on you, and then you can just go in the evening time, because that time the rays are not very hard on you either. Okay. So, you know, sun is boosting your inner energy. So you need to be,
I love to see the sun. Yes. Yeah. Even indoor, even through the window and all that, we love it. But again, it's a good idea. They're saying recommending not to, but
no, definitely. It boosts your energy. That itself boosts your immune system.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Satish Bansal. Go ahead.
Hello, Anji, मैं सविता बोल रही हूँ. Vitamin D is called to be fat soluble. So does it mean we should take it with the food?
If your body is working properly, you have bile acids and all the little if your intestines are properly working, they would be absorbed. You don't have to say, I have to take it with food. There are some medications you take it with food, some medications you take without food. So this is one of the medications that doesn't matter, because if your body system is working in a perfect way, the bile will help to absorb the vitamin into the system.
And why it is called fat soluble?
Because the way the vitamin D is transported from your intestines. So when you eat spinach, you eat kale and everything, it's digested. And for the vitamin D from your intestine, it goes into the fat cell called chylomicron. And the fat cell carries it to the liver. So that's why it's fat soluble.
Thank you.
So like vitamin A, K, and E, all are fat soluble vitamins.
One thing, doctor, we normally take it before going to bed. Is that too late from the supper?
Pardon?
We normally take vitamin D around 10 o'clock before going to bed.
Okay.
Should
Oh,
we-
no, it's okay.
It's okay?
No, okay, no problem. You can take it any time of your day.
Oh,
Okay, thank
thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.
Next, Suraji, go ahead.
Hello, Chandraji.
Hi.
I'm having a multivitamin and calcium in the morning with my breakfast. So can I add vitamin D with it at the same time? Or?
If you just look at your label, most of the multivitamins, especially if it says for seniors, just check your international units. Most of the multivitamins only contain 400 international units.
Okay.
So you could take additional dose to support that. But I'm not sure about Centrum or other vitamins. I have to just check it myself to see how many international units are there.
Okay. So I'll check my multivitamin.
Yeah, just check it. If it's 400, you can definitely take another supplement.
Okay. And should I take it with those multivitamin or at the same different time?
Doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
It's just that it's easy to take it everything at one time.
1 point. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Next, Shobna. Go ahead.
Good morning to everybody. Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal. मैं just इतना ही कहना चाहती हूँ to Chandra ji, you are very good in explaining. I enjoy your show. Every time you give a lecture or explain, you are very good. In detail, you are good. I love to see you every time. Please give us more information. Share your knowledge with us. I love it. I love everything you give in detail. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
There, Chandraji, I think Shobna has spoken for all of us.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And then we'll call you again when we need you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Mr. Anil